Ever feel like you're stuck on that treadmill, working hard, saving for that someday that never seems to come?
Yeah,
What if there was a way to like actually enjoy your money during your life, not just at the end?
that's the big question in Die with Zero. This is what Bill Perkins really gets at in his book, Die with Zero.
Okay.
And we're looking at excerpts from Maria Concero, that's a Spanish edition today, to kind of pull out the insights.
Okay, cool. So Die with Zero. Buckle up, everybody, because this is going to be a deep dive. I have a feeling this might turn your perspective about money and happiness upside down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Die with Zero. It's not as morbid as it sounds.
Not at all.
Right.
No, it's about squeezing everything you can out of life, all that joy and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And Perkins is arguing that we delay gratification so often, saving for later, that we can end up living a life that's, half-lived.
So how do we break free from this mentality?
Yeah.
Because it's so ingrained in us to work hard, save for retirement.
Right. Perkins isn't saying to spend recklessly or anything like
Sure.
that, but he has this concept of an experience dividend. And it really flips how we think about resources.
Okay. Experience dividend. So it's more than just like buying yourself a vacation or something like that.
Yeah, it's bigger than that.
Okay.
Think about how financial investments pay dividends.
Mm-hmm.
Experiences are kind of the same way. Throughout your life, they pay us back too. But instead of it being money,
Yeah.
you get these memories and personal growth and this feeling of, real fulfillment. And those are the things that really make our lives richer.
So like those backpacking trips when you're young and wild,
Yes.
or like those family vacations, or even just taking a pottery class,
All of it. Yeah.
those all become part of like your life portfolio.
Exactly. And like
Yeah.
your investments, the sooner you start investing in these things,
Yeah.
the longer you benefit. It compounds,
Makes sense.
the memories, the lessons you learn, the connections you make. It all shapes us and brings joy for years to come.
That reminds me of Jason's story in the book. He was young, working this dead-end job,
Right.
and he decided to take a leap of faith and backpack across Europe for 3 months. Quit his job, borrowed money.
Risky.
Yeah, very risky. Yeah, but then it talks about how years later he doesn't regret a thing.
Doesn't regret it at all.
And he wouldn't trade those memories for any amount of money.
Yeah.
It speaks to those formative experiences we have.
It really does.
And it makes you wonder, right? What are we putting off that we might not be up for later in life?
Yeah.
Like physically or mentally? Because our golden years,
Right.
they might not look like how we pictured them when we were younger.
That's a really good point. And Perkins talks about how there's this big push in society to work hard and retire later,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not magically going to be at our physical peak when we're at that retirement age,
Right.
to enjoy those adventurous trips or physically demanding hobbies, even just having the energy to try something new.
So you're saying if we wait until our 60s or 70s to
Yeah.
start really living it, could mean we miss out on things that we would have been better equipped for earlier.
Exactly. And the book actually highlights this with a story about a chiropractor. So he spent his career telling everyone how important it is to stay active,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't follow his own advice,
Oh, no.
and his health suffered for it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until he was in his late 50s that he had this wake-up call.
What happened?
He realized he was missing out. So
Yeah.
he got in amazing shape, the best of his life, in his 60s.
Good for him.
I know, right? And he started doing all sorts of things that he had put off, like mountain climbing with his daughter.
Wow.
He was so happy to be prioritizing himself and these experiences,
Mm.
but he knew he'd never be as physically capable as he was when he was younger.
Right.
And it's just this powerful reminder that the time to act is now.
So how do we balance this live in the moment idea with
Yeah.
being responsible and planning for the future? How do we even know which experiences are worth prioritizing right now?
That's where this idea of finding your own personal interest rate for experiences comes in.
Okay, this is getting really interesting now. Hold on. Personal interest rates for experiences. Explain.
So just like with your investments, right?
Okay.
They have different interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
And we give different value to experiences at different times.
Okay.
So let's say you could go on this amazing trip with your friends,
Okay.
but it's expensive and you're a little hesitant because of the cost.
Right.
Ask yourself, would you rather do this now
Yeah.
or have a slightly more luxurious version of it, maybe 5 years down the line?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of times you'll realize the experience, those memories you make with your friends, the personal growth, it's going to outweigh the upgraded version later.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't really put a price tag on that.
Plus, sometimes those opportunities,
Yeah.
they disappear.
They do.
Life happens.
Absolutely.
Things change. People change.
For sure.
This whole thing with personal interest rates for experiences,
Yeah.
makes you think about how we prioritize things at different points in our lives.
Yeah.
Like that marshmallow experiment with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Give them one now or wait and get two later.
Yeah. The Stanford marshmallow experiment. It's so interesting.
Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
So they give a kid the choice.
Yeah.
One marshmallow right now, or if you can wait 15 minutes, you get two.
Exactly. And the kids who could wait it out.
Yeah.
The ones who delayed that gratification.
They were better off later in life, right?
Yeah, generally they did better later in life,
Yeah.
like academically and socially. But Perkins isn't saying to just eat the marshmallow now.
No, exactly.
Oh, well.
He's not saying to just live for the moment and forget about planning.
Right.
It's about finding that balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do we use our resources the best way possible?
Yeah.
Our money and our time.
Across our whole lives.
Yeah, throughout our whole lifespan.
Which is hard to do.
It is.
Because, like, our ability to enjoy things changes over time.
Exactly.
Right? Like, there's a peak, and then
For sure.
it's not constant.
Yeah, Perkins talks about how our capacity for really enjoying those experiences, it's not the same our whole lives.
Yeah.
It changes with age, with our health, with what we find important at different times.
Like he says, you retire with your memories.
That's right.
So
They better make some good ones.
make them good ones. Yeah.
Exactly. And that leads us to something he made to help with all of this, the Die with Zero app.
Okay, and that's free on his website, right?
Yep, diewithzerobook.com.
So anyone listening can check it out.
That's right.
I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first.
Really?
I thought, oh, is this just going to tell me to go spend all my savings on a trip around the world?
That's a common thought. A lot of people think that.
Yeah.
But it's not about spending recklessly at all.
Okay.
It's about planning it out.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about your own life, how much risk you're okay with,
Yeah.
your goals, all of it.
So it's more about making you think about your spending habits and if they match what you actually care about.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. And it helps you visualize your life as these time buckets.
I love that idea.
Each bucket is a different phase or stage, and you decide what experiences you want to fill those buckets with.
It takes these really big ideas
Yeah.
and makes them concrete.
It makes it personal, right?
Yes.
Because I think a big question that comes up when people hear about Die with Zero is, what about my kids?
Of course. Yeah.
What about their inheritance?
It's natural to think about that.
Right.
We're programmed to want to take care of our kids, to leave them something when we're gone.
And Perkins actually addresses this directly.
He does.
He says, and I'm paraphrasing here,
Okay.
if you really love your kids, why wait until you're dead to give them your money?
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does?
It really makes you rethink when we should be generous.
Yeah.
Like, think about a young person who's just starting out.
Just starting their career.
Yeah, maybe trying to buy a house.
Yeah, that's when some extra money would make a real difference.
Exactly. If they get an inheritance later when they're already set,
Yeah.
it's nice, but the impact's not the same.
Right. It could even be a burden for some people.
For sure.
The book talks about this woman, Virginia,
Okay.
and her parents. They didn't give her much financial help
Oh, wow.
when she was struggling to raise her own kids, even though they had the money. And she was living paycheck to paycheck while her parents had all this money.
Wow.
But then they passed away and she got a big inheritance,
Okay.
which helped, of course.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been the same
Right.
as if she had that help when she was younger.
Exactly.
Right.
And Perkins says this happens all the time. It's like we're holding on to our money so tight,
Yeah.
so focused on this legacy.
We could be making a difference right now.
Oh, we're still here.
Exactly. And the same goes for giving to charity.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Perkins asks, why wait till you're dead to support the causes you believe in?
These organizations need help now.
To make a difference in the world today.
Absolutely.
It's about doing what you say you care about.
Yeah.
If you really care about something, why not support it while you're here
That's it right there.
to see it happen?
Yeah.
So it all goes back to living with more intention,
Yes.
having a more fulfilling life.
It's about recognizing that money is just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to reach a goal.
Right?
And the goal isn't to die with the most money.
Right.
It's to die knowing you really lived.
We've talked about a lot the experience dividend, starting early, those golden years that might not be so golden, and even personal interest rates for experiences. But how do we actually use all this? Where do we begin?
Well, Perkins has some really practical advice.
Mm-hmm.
One thing he says is to think about how we're spending our time and money.
Okay.
Are we making choices that line up with what we care about? Or are we just going through the motions,
Yeah,
you know.
it's on autopilot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He uses that example in the book, The Latte Factor.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about cutting out the things you enjoy.
Right.
It's about seeing how all those little expenses add up.
So true.
Little things add up.
They do.
Yeah.
So could that latte money be bringing you more joy if you used it differently? Maybe for a weekend trip or a pottery class.
I like that. It always comes back to those would you rather questions.
Wait. Like, would you rather have the latte or put that money towards something you really value?
Exactly.
Or would you rather work late or spend that time with family making memories?
It all adds up to your life, right?
Yeah.
These choices we make.
Yeah. We're designing our lives whether we realize it or not.
Right. And Perkins wants us to be in the driver's seat, you know? Don't just let life happen.
Be intentional.
Exactly.
He also talks about remembering our physical limits, which, let's face it, change as we get older.
It's true. It's not always easy to admit that our bodies can't do everything we want them to.
Especially as we get older.
Right. He's saying that our physical peak for certain things might not be when we typically retire.
Okay.
Like, let's say you want to hike through the Amazon or take a really intense dance class.
Okay.
If we wait too long, we might miss our chance.
Yeah, like that chiropractor.
Exactly. He was in the best shape of his life in his 60s.
Which is amazing.
It is. But he knew he couldn't do the same things then that he could when he was younger.
It's about being realistic, right?
Yes. Make the most of where you're at right now.
And that's where those time buckets come in.
I love the time buckets.
It just clicks. It's such a clear way to see our lives in these different phases.
It helps you really think about how you want to fill them. What do you want this chapter of your life to look like?
Yeah.
What kind of memories do you want to make?
What do we want to leave behind?
Yes, exactly. Your legacy, your impact on the world and the people you love.
And it doesn't have to be these huge bucket list things.
No, not at all.
Perkins talks about appreciating the everyday moments, too.
Absolutely. Finding joy in the simple things.
Like a walk in nature or a good conversation.
Yes. Or finishing something creative.
Yeah.
Just feeling proud of yourself.
Soaking it all in.
Exactly. And he also says to be brave, to take chances when we're younger.
Yes. Especially then. You have more time to recover if things don't go your way.
He talks about moving to Texas for a job,
That was a big risk for him.
leaving his comfort zone behind.
It was a turning point for him.
And even if things don't work out perfectly,
Right.
we learn from every experience, right?
Exactly. The good and the bad.
And he says to actually quantify your fears.
Yeah, write down the worst case scenario.
Right.
What's the worst that could happen?
Then what?
Then compare that to the good things that could happen.
That's good exercise.
It is. Because usually the bad stuff isn't as scary as we think it is.
Right. And the good stuff could be amazing.
Exactly.
So as we get older, reach our peak earning years. What then?
Perkins suggests something really interesting.
What that?
Instead of just keeping all that money,
Yeah.
he says, think about spending it down.
Spending it down.
Okay.
Use it to fuel those experiences that bring you joy.
I like it.
It's not about being careless with your money, but about being intentional.
I see what you mean.
And that's where that app can help, the Die With Zero app,
It can walk you through it.
to find that balance
Like it-
between enjoying now and being smart for the future.
Perkins really wants us to live without regrets.
Live your best life.
Yes, to appreciate the time we have and make every moment count.
It's about those experiences.
The big ones and the small ones.
And remembering that money is just a tool to help us get there.
Exactly. A means to an end.
So as you go about your day, we'll leave you with this question from the book.
If money and time weren't an issue,
Okay.
what's the one thing you'd regret not having in your life's highlight reel?
Let that one sink in.
Yeah, what dreams have you been putting off?
What's calling to you?
And then take a step, no matter how small.
Just start.
Don't wait for the perfect moment.
The time is now.
The time to live your most fulfilling life is now.
Couldn't agree more.